Hi, I'm doing a check-in for tonight. I am currently reading Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I'm really surprised at the turn that this novel has taken. Now, it, in my opinion, has been marketed as a romantic comedy, but it definitely deals with a lot more serious themes than I thought it would. I've kind of alluded to this in my video yesterday, where I talked about picking this one up mainly because of my love for People We Meet on Vacation, also by Emily. But I knew ahead of time that a lot of people reviewed this saying that they did not expect this book to get into the themes that it did, but still overall enjoyed it. And I gotta be honest, I love Emily Henry's writing style a lot. She just does banter really well, and she can really illustrate chemistry between two leads extremely well. It actually does remind me a lot of Sally Thorne and The Hating Game. The Hating Game had chemistry where it almost would leap off the page. And I think it's really hard for romance authors to do that, to actually write characters that have so much chemistry that you can actually feel it. I just think that takes a really special kind of talent and charisma, and Emily Henry has it in spades. That being said, I'm actually really surprised at how dark this book has gotten. For a book that does have romantic elements in it, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, romance can be layered with a lot of intersecting topics. It's all right to enjoy romance novel as fluff, to enjoy just reading something that makes you feel light and joyful, especially in these days where there's just a lot of overwhelmingly negative news and feedback, and just wanting to have that reprieve, just wanting to have that sense of relief. But in the same vein, romance can also be quite intricate, and there can be so many different types of topics to delve into while also having romance as the backdrop. And romance writers and the romance genre does not get enough credit for how much it's able to tackle. And Beach Read to me is an interesting example of that. There's a there's some passages in this book that have really kind of surprised me. The two main characters, uh, Gus and oh my goodness, the female character's name is escaping me right now. Ah, but in any case, with the two leads, they're writers. They're fiction writers. The female lead being a romance writer, and Gus or Augustus being kind of, the angsty, typical profile of a male writer who's a bestseller. He typically writes what's considered really gritty type fiction, grim, dark type fiction, and they kind of have a bet between one another that the other wouldn't be able to write a coherent book in their respective genres. Mainly because the female lead feels as though he doesn't respect her genre, even though once you read more into the story, it seems like he actually does have a lot more admiration for her than she initially expects or initially thinks, which is typically what happens with enemies to lovers type scenarios, where there's always these misunderstandings and the female lead tends to think that the male lead is too arrogant, thinks too highly of himself, and kind of is condescending and looks down on the female lead even though he secretly admires her. So that type of trope is playing out in this book. But they have this bet where theirs to write in each other's respective genres, because both of them find that they're dealing with writer's block, and both of them are creatively stunted, both due to a lot of personal issues that have bubbled up for both of them in both their private lives. And in particular, the female lead decides that she's going to take on his grim, dark persona. And he's actually, in the past, for research for his novels, have interviewed people that have been in cults. So at some point in this book, they actually do have an interview with someone that was previously in a cult. He's an alcoholic, and he describes some of the horrific things that happened to him and his family. And part of the punishment that he received within this compound was being beaten. And to me, that is such a dark note to have in a book that's primarily being promoted as romance. Even the cover with the illustration, which the ever so popular illustrated covers, you're tricked into kind of thinking that this is a light read, but it's definitely a lot more serious in tone than one would expect. Yet the romance is really intriguing, and again, Emily Henry is really talented in portraying chemistry. So I don't know particularly if I would say I like Beach Read more than People We Meet on Vacation. I still think I love People We Meet on Vacation a lot. And I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed the friends to lovers trope, which is a romance trope that I'm not that much into. But she's completely changed my mind on that. At Second Chance Romance. Beach Read, I'm still getting into. It's about 50% in, but I cannot deny Emily Henry's talent. So that is my long rambling for tonight. That's kind of my mini vlog. Hope you're having an amazing night, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.